Here we are in the classroom, back to school for Scoring 101. Okay, so today what we're going to do is we're going to dive into the data and we're going to give you the actual information that you need to learn so that you can shoot lower scores truly without even practicing. Now, it might sound too good to be true, but I'm telling you this, is that when I help a player understand the real game of golf, it shifts the way they think, it shifts the way they act, and it shifts the way they play the game of golf. It makes them more effective, which brings their scores down. So what I would like you to do is grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, maybe it might be your iPad, but just imagine you're back at school and we're going to dive into Scoring 101. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the truth about greens in regulation. Okay, I hear so many times that people say, well, Will, I hit probably 7 or 8 greens around and I don't 3-putt very often. I ask them what they shoot and they end up telling me, oh, a 105. I'm like, well, unless you make a 27 on the last hole, there's no way that's even possible. So what I want to do here is share with you an amazing piece of data that you can share at parties, that you can share with your friends, and it's really going to start to teach you about how many greens do you actually hit and what is the opportunity for your game. So here's the equation. So as we go ahead and write out this equation, I'm going to go ahead and have it written out as 95 minus brackets GIR, that's greens in regulation, times 2 brackets equals score. Now, I'm no mathematician, I was no good at school, but here's as simple as it is. If you double the amount of greens that you hit and minus it from 95, you will get your score. This stat works for every single level of player, even PGA Tour players. For example, PGA Tour players hit 71% of greens. Now, if we go ahead, I'm going to do my calculations here and do 71% of 18, it's 12.78. So if we times 12.78 by 2, it's 25.56. Well, guess what? If we minus that from 95, it's 69.5, which is pretty much, for the best players in the world, that's what they're shooting on tour as an average. So now let's start to understand this, that if we are playing the game of golf and we're looking to shoot around 85, we are actually hitting 5 greens around. So think about it, 5 times 2 is 10, minus it from 95 equals 85. So the beauty here is that you start to realize the opportunity that you have. 13 times around, you are not going to be on the putting surface. That means that we have got to maximize 3-to-1 our practice on short game and putting over ball striking. Because yes, even though you'd like to hit the ball further and you'd like to go ahead and hit it straighter, it's not likely to happen and it's not the fastest way to improve. The other thing that we've got to remember is when you're on the golf course, you're not meant to hit the green in regulation. Even somebody at 85, that's a pretty good score for some of you, right? You're thinking you've got to play flawless golf to get there. No, you don't. What you've got to do is only hit 5 greens around. That means aiming at the middle of the green, taking extra club, avoiding trouble. So as we take this stat and start to understand that we don't hit as many greens and neither do the PGA Tour players, we've got to start to maximize the way we play the hole, which is get the ball anywhere on the green, but realistically around the green to give yourself a great opportunity to get up and down, get down in 3, get your check mark, and save a bogey and not make those blow-up holes. So as we go into number 2, I want to go ahead and understand and help you to learn what tee boxes should you actually play from. Now, there's all sorts of theories behind this and people say different numbers and there's just a guessing game. You're a man, so you should tee off from 6,500. You're a woman, so you should tee off from 5,500. Well, you know what? There is an actual equation to help you to understand what it would feel like to have a tour experience. So what this means is what would it be like to be on tour? That means averaging a short iron into the holes. It means getting to par 5s pretty close to in 2. What you want to do here is take the carry distance, the distance that you hit your 5 iron or 5 hybrid, and times that by 36. Now, if you go ahead, you can get out your phones, do the math for me. Okay, if you hit the ball 170 yards in the air, which is most, I would say, average male 5 iron, times that by 36, the golf course you should be playing is 6,100 yards. I'd say most of you, though, are playing from 65, 6,600. My challenge for you is go to 6,100 yards and just feel what it's like to start hitting some wedges and 9-irons into greens and understand that the reason why your score might be a little bit higher than you like is because you're actually playing from too far back. Now, as your coach, I want to ensure that I get you to hit the ball further, more consistently, so that you can play from those further tee box. But understand, if you're playing at 7,000, you have to add strokes onto your game because you're playing from those wrong tees. If you look at a PGA Tour player, they carry their 5-iron about 205, okay? And on the PGA Tour, if you watch it, you'll see 205 times 36 equals, oh, here we go, 205 times 36 equals 7380. Most of the courses on the PGA Tour now are around about 7,400 yards. So remember, next time you go to the golf course, I want you to actually hit that 5-iron, see where it carries to, not where it rolls to, and then go ahead and play the course from that distance to give you a real experience of what it's like to play on the tour. Now let's go ahead and show you the third lesson. Let's talk about putting. You see, in putting, the stats are really against you. What we've got to start to understand is our expectations are way too high on how good a putter we think we are. When you look at the PGA Tour, from 8 feet is where they miss as many as they make. For an 18 handicap, it's actually 5 feet. So that means when you're 6 feet away from the hole, you're more likely to miss it. Yet we stand over a 15-foot birdie putt, desperate to try and make it, and frustrated when we miss it. If we start to understand the numbers on the putting surface, the real goal of putting is to get the ball as close to the hole as you can, tap it in, and get out of there. The only time that you're really going to be making putts is inside of a 10-foot circle. And for the best in the world, that's still under 40% from 10 feet on the best greens in the world. So what I want you to start to focus in on is when you're standing over a putt, I want you to just pace it off before you hit it. Just go ahead and walk from the flag and pace it off and start to get an idea of that if you're at 30 feet, okay, let's even say you're at 40 feet. On the PGA Tour, they're more likely to 3-putt than 1-putt at 38 feet. So when you're at 40 feet, you're definitely more likely to 3-putt than 2-putt. I want you to work on pace. So many people fall in love with the line trying to make a putt rather than gauge the pace right, get themselves a foot from the hole and tap it in. At 25 feet to 28 feet is where you're more likely to, as I said, 3-putt than 1-putt. So I really want to challenge you to start to take this data into your practice, which means spend your time hitting long putts. Spend your time working on pace, not line. And start to work out how can I get the ball closer to the hole to allow myself to get that 2-putt. It means not playing as aggressive, and it's not putting the expectations on yourself of thinking you're actually going to 1-putt when you're 15 to 20 feet from the hole. So in these lessons, what I've hopefully done is start to give you 3 key points that you can start to change the way you practice, but most importantly, change what you do on the golf course, ensuring that you don't need to hit greens. You've got to put the ball in play. You've got to put the ball in a position where you can chip and 2-putt and make a bogey and take out the blow-up holes. You also need to start to understand the length of the course you should be playing. And when you do go to a different course at different lengths, take the pressure off and allow yourself to have some holes where, yes, maybe you are going to go ahead and make bogeys instead of pars and shoot a few strokes higher than your normal score. But that will reduce the tension. Instead of you forcing it and shooting a high score, you'll play better golf. And then finally with putting, where truly 50% of the game is played, we've got to start to get our expectations aligned so the tension that we have does not lead to poor results. It allows us to free ourselves up, be the second ball golfer, and make more putts inside that 2-foot circle because we've lagged them up nice and close. So I hope today you've got some good lessons in Scoring 101. Now go out to the golf course and apply it.